It's springtime, we're planting our gardens, we're tending to our yards, and we're trying to make our house look immaculate. Garden beds. This is what we're talking about today. I looked all over Pinterest, see some of the most popular garden bed out there, and I found some of my most favorite ones, and we're gonna categorize them as beginner, intermediate, and expert level garden beds. And if you're looking to not plant a garden, but maybe some flower beds, it'll work too. Just relax. Let's get started. We'll start with the beginner. This is pretty much all you're gonna need for the beginner. If you know how to run a straight cut with a circular saw or a miter saw and operate a drill safely, this is the one for you. 120 bucks is probably all it takes. First things, the most important part is make sure there's no weeds growing on your ground. So dig them all out, throw them all away. Second step, even though the weeds are not there, that stuff will still grow. Trust me, been there before. Laying down this giant heavy duty weed barrier. We're gonna use a little stakes, put them in the ground so they don't move, and then we're ready to build. If you guys are staring at my arm, your boy took a little nasty spill with the daughter, rode some e-bikes, caught the pegs, slid out. Dad got a hold of the little monkey, but she's got no scratches and I got all the scratches, which that is a good day. Up next, start cutting the overall length that you want of your garden bed here. This is gonna be a nice, perfect square for it, so it's gonna be easy peasy for us. We got our general dimensions laid out here. We're gonna take our 2x3, cut it to 11 inches. Why 11? Because there's gonna be 2 tiers of these 2x6s. Times 2, that's 11. Simple math for you. Here comes the fun part. We're first gonna join it right here, butt this together. We're gonna use exterior deck screws. I like to use deck screws because they typically, when you countersink them, they hide a lot more than some kind of like panhead screws or anything like that. And then we're gonna take our 2x3 blocking and we're gonna screw that in as well. That's gonna be our reinforcement. If you've gotten this far in the step and you've never built before, as you can see, it's super easy. All that's left now is to create our second tier, and you can build as high as you want, but minimum of 2 tiers so you have enough topsoil in here for all your plants and all the whatever you want to plant, really. I don't care. Well, there you have it, folks. $120, a beginner skill set. You got yourself a garden bed or a floral bed, whatever you need. This thing got you. You can stain it if you wanted to match anything. Also, staining might also help with the weather, but there she is. Let's move on to the intermediate, something a little bit more fancier. Let's kick it up a notch. We have a perfect section here that I think would need some beefier, solid looking garden beds, really. And I'm really excited because I never built one like this, but I'm pretty sure we could figure it out. I know we could lay down weed barrier, but this is pretty bushy, thick stuff, so it'll make everything uneven. So we're gonna do a little light excavation, and then we'll start laying down our weed barrier. I really hate this part. We got decorative stone in here. What else is buried in the 60-year-old house? Now I really picked a hell of a time to get hurt throwing a shovel around while I shouldn't be sweating because you don't want to get a staph infection in these open sores. All right, this looks about right. I also gave it a little grading because this sucker is gonna be beefy and heavy. There's no moving it after it's in, so you wanna make sure it's level to a certain level of degree. Get it? Certain level, did he? Look at me, just from the hip right there. Now this is a super wide roll. I don't want to be wasteful of it, so I think I'm just going to do maybe in 2 to 3 sections and have them overlap because I really don't want to waste this stuff. All right, guys, so summertime is gonna be here in no time. And what does that mean? Kids are out of school, and that means you constantly hear, I'm bored all the time. And this year, Irene and I are staying ahead of the curve. We are not gonna be hearing that kind of stuff. That's why we partnered with my favorite sponsors, KiwiCo. And the reason they're my favorite sponsors is because they take what we do here on the channel, that's building and creating and solve problems, and they package it all up into these crates for kids of all ages to use and expand their imagination and creativity, engineering, and all that stuff. Say goodbye to boredom and build the best summer ever with KiwiCo Summer Adventure Series. It's an at-home summer adventure that delivers themed crates for kids of all ages. Each series comes with 6 crates jam-packed with fun, hands-on projects, plus access to a library of cool videos, DIYs, and printables. Whether you choose to get all 6 crates at once or weekly deliveries, that's what we do, KiwiCo guarantees a summer full of excitement and discovery. We're conquering boredom. We're getting them to use their brains and to use creative thinking and use the sense of wonder and adventure while they're on break. And so what we do is, if we're on vacation, we'll just order all 6 at once. If we're staying at home, well, we'll just have one delivered every Friday, and it's something to look forward to. Each crate comes with everything that's needed. It's the supplies, the instructions, everything is all there for you. And what I love personally about it, just when I think I want to jump in and help them figure something out, they stick with it because instructions are so great, and it's so awesome to see them problem solve, because that's what we do here on the channel. And here's Beckham telling you exactly how he feels about the KiwiCo crates. All right, Bex, how old are you?
9.
And what did you get?
A hover disc.
From KiwiCo?
Yeah.
So what are your thoughts about it?
I love it.
Do you like it? What do you like so much about KiwiCo?
I really like engineering. When it sends me something that I can build, I don't get as bored.
That's good. It's a good summer plan, isn't it?
Yeah.
All right. We absolutely love working with KiwiCo, and they're offering you a great promotion right now. Click the link in the description below. Use my promo code MrBuildIt at checkout, and you'll receive $20 off their Adventure Summer Series. Thank you, KiwiCo, for sponsoring this video once again. And now let's get back to this video. So here we are, guys. We're using beefy 4x6 lumber. These are 10 footers. Ideally, I wanted to go 16 feet to go all the way down, but I couldn't find them at the local Home Depot, so compromise. So the idea behind here is that we're gonna have a long piece go straight, and then every layer, which we're gonna do 3 tiers, are gonna be staggered. We're using 1/2-inch rebar. We'll talk about it when we get there, will we? First order of business is I need to commit to my cut. So I'm gonna keep 10 footers, and then we'll see what the distance is here. I don't have a lot to work with. The overall area is about 3 feet, about 2 inches. So maybe 3 feet, 1 inch by the time you hit the siding. So let me dice those up, lay them out, and then we'll have a visual idea what we're doing. So this is what I mean by staggering them. And really there's only one cut you need to know. These are stock 10 footers, did not cut them. The only thing I cut was the ends, and I cut them to 27.5. It's whatever you want them to be. And so then you stagger them, accordingly. One thing before we get started is I gotta make sure everything's level, because the last thing I wanna do is build this thing at a slant. I'm gonna really regret that. So got a little paver base or road mix. We're gonna make sure we put it in the spots that we need it. It'll also help with drainage and make sure the water doesn't get absorbed into this bottom lumber, even though it's really beefy. It's gonna last for a very long time. And then we'll get ready to secure it. So what I'm doing here is just putting the rest of the road mix under any gaps that I see. Theoretically, you could have just poured a bunch of road mix down and level it, but I don't know. It's up to you what you want to do. It's not my project. This is my project. But the idea there is really to support everything that it doesn't bow over time, but because we're using 3 tiers of 2x6s, I highly doubt this thing is going to do any kind of bowing, especially the fact that it's going to be filled with, topsoil and plants and all that jazz, so not worried at all. It looks good to me. It's all leveled, so this is where the fun starts coming. We're gonna be placing holes, so easy peasy corners, because that way they interlock, and the last thing I want to do is for any kind of wood movement to separate the corners. That'll just look ugly and there's no fixing it. Once the corners are in, we're gonna lay about 3 here and 3 here, one every 2.5 feet, 3. Then we just stack from there. Almost forgot the most important part, because this can go sour very quickly. We also need to commit the placement of these holes. So pick a nice even number and make sure it's dead center, because if it's not dead center and if it's not even, there's no way in hell we're gonna pull this off. So we're driving them to about 10.5 inches. Reason why is these are 2 footers. I want them to go dig into the ground, but I also don't want to be cutting them off at the top. So this will get us to our stopping point perfectly. The base is done. We start cutting all the holes for the rest of the pieces. And we got to make them slightly looser because it's going to be damn near impossible to get all the holes lined up. Things might get a little tricky. This is turning into not an intermediate, but an expert kind of project. So because these rebars, they're aligned perfectly on the board, they're still bending left or right a little bit. So it's really hard to coordinate all 4 in, especially with really tight holes like this. I think the best option to do it is go a notch wider on the holes, maybe like 5/8. That way we have a better opportunity to slide them in. It's a lot of work for a stinking garden bed. 5/8 was the move. Maybe even the slight 16 more would have been better, but that was definitely the right call. Okay, so for the sake of full transparency, I thought I bought 12 rebars, but I bought 10, and I need one here and on that side, or else this swivels. But what I'll do is, when I get these all lined in, I'm gonna go get another 2, and I'll get one of those extra long bits and stab it in through, because I don't wanna lie to you guys, I wanna keep it honest. I feel like I've been building a railroad this entire time. This is what Pinterest doesn't tell you. They'll post like these really cute graphic designed tutorials, and you're like, you can build this, it's so cute. But then you don't consider how much labor. I mean, these things are super heavy. You gotta be precise with your placement, and you gotta swing a damn hammer like you're driving railroad ties in. But we're here, I'm happy how it looks. It's leveled, it's straight. There's one more step to this that'll kind of cap it off. Well, actually, we're gonna cap it off. So, capping it off with 2x8s. You gotta get 12-foot long boards because these are 10-footers, so you need it to go a little bit longer because miters, they kind of overlap a little bit more. I'm gonna have about a 1/2-inch reveal on each side, miter around, secure it with deck screws that are countersink, and this puppy will start looking real good. Well, there we have it, folks. An intermediate, beautiful, gorgeous, solid gardening box, planter, floral bed, whatever you want to call it. What I like about it is how beefy it is. It's simple, but yet elegant. But also this little cap on top, it creates a nice little bench area that you can come out, have a cup of tea with you or coffee. And so it's actually a functional thing. Big fan of it. Plus or minus about 300 bucks. You're looking at about 250 bucks with rebar and these 4x6s. And then you're probably looking for another 40 bucks of these 12-foot long 2x8s. So a little bit steeper, but I think it's well worth it because I think it really makes this area look awesome. So let's move on to the advanced version of our planter box here. Now the reason it's gonna be advanced because it's gotta not only include wood, it's gonna include more miters on it, it's gonna include joinery like pocket holes, and we're working with metal as well. Definitely think you can do it as long as you just kind of trust in the process. And it's probably my second time ever building this type of planter box. And I'm a big fan of it because I think it creates like a statement piece as well. So let's start dicing up our lumber. We'll start working on the edges first. We're gonna build out our corners first, and we wanna have the least amount of screws to be exposed. So we're gonna make these essentially L brackets that are gonna sit on every corner, and then we'll join everything together. So grab our trusty pocket hole jig, and make sure you use exterior screws. Again, pocket holes do have exterior screws, get them, and you'll be in good shape. We got our corner set up. We're gonna take our 8-foot boards and we're gonna line them up, put pocket holes on each end of them and connect all of them together. This will create our side. Now the sheet galvanized steel that we're using is 27 inches tall and 8 feet long. So we'll just have to trim our board by about, where's my 8-foot mark? Oh, there it is. We're gonna have to trim our board by about, I don't know, 3 inches or so. And we'll be able to connect them all together. First one's down, let's get another one going faster. And there we have a second one. Now, before our fronts and backs are done, we need to put a reinforcement piece down here. Same idea, just pocket hole it from here to there, and that will allow for the galvanized steel, because it's so thin, to not bow out as you put soil or whatever in there. Now all we gotta do is get our side pieces. Now, because I bought 3 sheets, we could really make this thing as wide as we really want to. 4 feet seems a little too wide and awkwardly looking, but 3 feet, which is about, I don't know, yay, I think will look just perfect. This is the fun part. This is the roofing sheet metal. I actually don't know if it's for roofing. I'm assuming it is. So we're gonna place it right in here. And then we're gonna use our metal screws that are for sheet metal, but these are meant to go, they're not self-tapping, but they're meant to go through securing metal to wood. So we're gonna secure it on the backside to here, this corner and that corner, probably basically every other rotation, because you don't want to secure it through this part, it'll just start bending the sheet metal. Now we get to finally put the cherry on top of this little beauty here. Mitered corners. Keep in mind, when you're using this frame system on the miter on top, the lumber has to be longer. So you have to bump it up. We use all 8-footers. Now you have to use 10-footers in order to get that length like we did on the previous box. Get these in place. And just like the previous one, we're gonna secure from the sides too, just to make sure our miters are nice and tight. With weather, wood expansion, you wanna keep those suckers tight. Well, there you have it, folks. We have our advanced version of our garden bed, flower bed. I think it looks awesome. I love the galvanized steel here. It just creates this cool accent. I've seen a lot of these in front of people's houses, like as decor. Super cool. I think it fits perfectly here. Project like this, there's a lot of pocket holes like we already discussed, but cost-wise, it's actually cheaper than the intermediate version just because you're working with traditional lumber like 2x6 or 2x4, sorry. You just need like about 13 of them to build one like this and 3 sheets of this galvanized roofing material. But all in all, close to about 200 bucks. You can bang this thing out in basically a Saturday if you wanted to. And I think you'll be happy to do so. Well, there you have it, folks. 3 different ways of building garden beds, beginner, intermediate, and advanced. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I'd love to know your comments down in the comment section. Which one is your favorite? What you would have done differently, maybe on the advanced version. But in the meantime, here's a video that I think you might enjoy.